This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
It's 11:07 at WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast, and you are on Never Alone. From Harbor Place, the executive director, Jack Waldrop. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, doing very well. It's getting a little cooler. Yeah, kind of cool.
Yes, cool weather finally for the all of 6 days that we may have it.
Yeah, our terrible winter down here, right?
Oh, it's horrible. Well, this morning we are very lucky to have one of our internal doctors that comes in, Dr. Watt, and be able to talk to him a little bit today. And so I'm going to let him give a little introduction about himself, where he practices out of, all those sorts of wonderful things.
Hello, can you hear me?
We got you, doctor. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm actually been a doctor in the community for about 10 years. I've affiliated with Mark Memorial, well, now Cleveland Clinic, Port St. Lucie Medical Center, and Longwood and Rawlison Hospital. After about 5 years, I went ahead and me and a partner, Dr. Remo Patel, transitioned into our own private practice. And as of the last 3 years, we started seeing patients in the nursing home and assisted living facilities, which Jack is affiliated going of, well, our only assisted living facility right now that we go to.
And so tell me a little bit, what are the services that you offer when you go into an assisted living or an independent living?
Well, if a patient is in need of medical services for whatever reason, whether or not they feel sick, they don't have a primary care doctor, I fill that void or that gap so that they can get the assistance they need within a reasonable amount of time.
Okay, and that means you're able to see them in their apartment, prescribe medicine if they need it, all without having to leave the community itself, correct?
Absolutely.
Which is fantastic for our residents. And I know I'm asking questions that I already know the answers to, but we just want everybody else out there to know that this is available to everyone, especially if you live in an assisted living or independent living. The fact that you can have a doctor come into your home without having to leave and go out, it makes for a much more convenient time, especially if you're not feeling well. Who wants to get in the car and go to the doctor when you're not feeling well? It's a lot easier for them to come to you.
Absolutely.
Dr. Watt, how have you seen healthcare change just in the last 18 months with COVID, with how you're seeing patients, how just in general things have changed? Well,
the standard practice is kind of gone, right now, just like we're doing right now with the Zoom, telemedicine is on the rise, and in most cases I have to do what they call home visits or, especially in the LF, just like you said, because they're scared and they can't get out. So I think that medicine has been more virtual. I think that's the best way to put it. It's changing to more virtual setting than it used to be. Even in the hospitals, the patients who have strokes now are seen by a teleneurologist. And so as, psych patients are seen by telepsychiatry, because the psychiatrists don't even want to come to the hospital anymore. So I think that's what it's amounted to be, more of a virtual way of practicing medicine.
Do you think that'll change? Do you think we'll eventually come out of that? And people?
Well, it depends. And I mean, if people are happy with the service that they get, then it'll be here to stay. If people are not happy, then obviously we may end up going back to the more traditional settings. But some people do like the fact that they could stay home and log on their computer and see their doctor, and it all depends on, how severe the condition is, and whether or not they're happy with just, seeing their doctor as opposed to somebody actually physically there touching them, and examining them.
That's going to be my next question. With so much going to virtual, for skeptics out there, are we seeing a difference in how people are being treated because you're not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Your diagnosis and how you diagnose the patient is going to have to be 100% cerebral, because you can't physically touch them. So you're basing your diagnosis on basically what the patient is telling you, not any sort of objective findings. So you're going to have a lot of misdiagnoses, because a patient is going to may not actually tell you, the right things. You have to actually see it yourself or examine it yourself. So you're going to have a lot of misdiagnoses. Now, how severe, that is going to determine whether or not we stick with this virtual medicine thing or go back to the traditional sense.
You see a lot more, because of it being virtual, a lot more testing that's being done?
Oh, yes. So doctors are just ordering more and more batteries of tests so that they can compensate for the lack of examination. So your CT scans and your ultrasounds, and those are really more your diagnostic tools. Whereas if we were physically there, we could listen to your heart and lungs. Maybe we didn't need the chest X-ray, or the abdominal ultrasound or something like that. So I think that it's going to be more expensive in the long run for testing.
Sure. Okay. And then how do you see that changing? I know we talked about it depends on how people feel about the virtual visits later on. Do you see that changing in the near future? Do you think it'll be a long time period? It'll change
it'll change pretty quickly if there is if there's like global resentment towards it, meaning you see a lot more patients dying because of virtual visits because appendicitis is not diagnosed.
Right.
Doc, I got a pain in my belly, and he thinks it's just like food poisoning as opposed to an appendicitis, and the patient ends up dying. So if the mortality increases or morbidity increases, patients are not going to want to accept the virtual mechanisms in terms of using a doctor rather than going to the actual doctor. I had a few patients that happened to, not in the sense that it was anything serious, but they were misdiagnosed by another doctor because they weren't able to the doctor was not able to actually physically see them. And they ended up coming to me and said they'll never do that again, so.
Well, and my other question to that is on the insurance side of it, how long is insurance going to continue to pay for televisits instead of doing in person?
Oh, well, I think for the insurance companies, they prefer it. To them, anything other than an ER or anything other than to them is savings, and they pay a lot less than the patient going into the ER. So if it saves them 50% of the patients don't go to the ER because they have a televisit, then they're going to keep that forever, because they feel that it's going to be a cost to them. It's a cost savings.
Right. All right, Dr. Watt, I've got a question.
Sure.
Women always, seem to be able to communicate better with doctors. I know it's kind of a guy thing because we don't communicate very well.
Absolutely. I agree with that statement.
when the doctor asks you, how are you? Oh, I'm fine.
Right.
Very
true. How do you get around that in the virtual visits though?
Well, it's very hard. I mean, believe it or not, and I understand, because when you go to the doctor, it's very personal. It's almost like you're forming a new relationship, And, you know, you may not even get, like, even my regular patients coming into the practice, you may not get the straight answers the first, the second visit, third visit, but as they keep coming, you build that reputation and you rapport with them, that they start revealing stuff to you, and they know you, you get to know them intimately, you know. And for the women, it's easier. I mean, that happens quicker than the guys, you know. So I understand that, but with the virtual visits, you're right. It's not easy to do because it's not very personable. You get what I'm saying? So I don't think you could develop that with a virtual visit. That's why I don't offer a virtual visit unless I have already had that one-on-one, you know, communication with a patient. This is in my practice, this is an optional thing. It doesn't replace your physical visit. Like, you have to have already seen me and had a connection with me in order for me to go ahead and okay a virtual visit with you.
And that's good. And I think we have to also remember that, you know, medicine is a practice, and all we're doing is adding a different type of practice.
Sure.
You know, we're all learning this process together. I mean, doctors aren't really taught on how to do telemedicine, you know, and so this is, they're taught to diagnose, but this is certainly a difficult way to do it with not touching someone.
Right.
So tell me, what do you see in the benefits of having a doctor that comes to you like in an assisted living or an independent living?
I think it's a benefit to the patient and me as well, because I'm trying to, as a new doctor, I want to go out there in the community and kind of know the people of the community and help the community. And I think that's where I think that I could benefit. And also, I think the patients benefit because, as you said, during this time, based on the age population within the ALF, they're very high risk wherever they go, and going to a medical facility, there's a high chance that if they go to the hospital, the ER, they're going to be at high risk to get COVID or the flu. And, at this time, if they do get it, they're 10 times higher risk of having a morbidity or mortality associated with it than the normal, the average 35-year-old male or so. So I think that it'll benefit them a lot by me being there and seeing them at the facility, as opposed to them going out in the community and maybe contracting something.
And how do you feel, and because this is the topic on everybody's mind, how do you feel about the vaccine and how does it work? Is it something that you're seeing lesser cases of because people are vaccinated? I know we have the breakthrough cases going on as well, but kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, since they instituted the vaccine, the numbers have gone down. I mean, they've kind of fluctuated a little bit, but they've never been as high as last year. Last year was ridiculously crazy. And you find that the numbers are going down. So the proof is in the pudding. The more people that get vaccinated, is the less incidences that we have in the hospital. And, about a month ago, it was really bad. But again, 90% of the people that were in the hospital, very, very sick, were unvaccinated, 90% of them. Now, that's not to say that some people who are vaccinated won't get it. For example, Colin Powell, the last incident, if you're immunocompromised, the problem is that, if you're on chemotherapy or you're fighting some sort of cancer, your immune system is weakened. So what happens is that when you get the vaccine, you don't build the vaccine. The goal is to build that, like, those antibodies. Right. And if your immune system is depleted, you may not build enough antibodies to fight off the infection. So but it's not to say that you don't give it to them. It's better than nothing, but I think that you're going to have a lot of people, even when vaccinated, that are immunocompromised. Your advanced HIV patients or AIDS patients, your chemotherapy patients or whatnot. But again, giving them something is better than giving them nothing. And I think that's the case for them.
Sure. And how,
Excuse me.
what do you feel, I guess is a better way to word this is, how do you feel about assisted livings? Do you think is that a step that people need to do? Do they need to stay home as long as possible? You know, kind of what are your feelings on that? Because we all differ. I mean, we are a place of business. We know that. But I have seen over the years, you know, the difference between staying at home and being in an independent living or an assisted living, and the quality of life that's there.
Sure. And I think that being in assisted living, because you just like we were just offering the perks of the assisted living, I think are so much beneficial than somebody just staying home alone, because what you offer, the meals, provide like people like me, to come and see them once a week, and you have a great staff that's responsive for their appointment needs and things that they need. So I think that being in assisted living is very beneficial. I mean, if you were to compare that and a patient being home alone and not having any resources, I think assisted living is going to be a better option for most seniors that are living alone and have multiple medical problems.
So again, my name is Jack Waldrop. I'm the executive director at Harbor Place at Port St. Lucie. If you are just joining us, we are with Dr. Watt. He is an independent doctor that does see residents here at our community face to face without having to go out to his office. It's one of the benefits that we have. And Dr. Watt, just kind of give us another recap, because we're about midway through the show. For those that are just joining us, who you are, where you're from, all that fun stuff.
Well, my name is Jason Watt, Dr. Watt. I'm originally from Jamaica. I was born in Jamaica, but I was raised in South Florida. I went to college in Alabama and went to medical school at American University of the Caribbean. But I finished off my clinicals at UCLA in California and my residency at LSU in New Orleans before coming to Port St. Lucie. I've been here for the last 10 years, originally as a hospitalist for the first 5 years. In the last 5 years, I've been a primary care doctor working out in the community, in nursing homes and also in the hospitals.
It's interesting, Doctor. You said you went to college in Alabama. I didn't know they had any there. I'm sorry. I had to throw in.
That's a good one.
But okay, you just mentioned hospitalist. It seems to be a new terminology, but what is that exactly?
So if you are admitted into the hospital and you do not have a doctor, that you don't have a doctor, or your doctor does not go to that hospital, you still need a doctor to take care of you while you're there. So a hospitalist is a doctor that is going to take care of you while you're in the hospital up until the time you're discharged from the hospital. Now, some hospitalists are private, meaning they're just like me, just like doctors that have a clinic, and I just tell the hospital, if anybody comes in and doesn't have a doctor, I'll be happy to see them. And you go to the hospital and you see them while they're there. Or some hospitalists work for the hospital and they're employed by the hospital, and they go in and see patients that come in through the ER that don't have a doctor, that need a doctor while they're in the hospital.
Well, Jack, I think this is an amazing opportunity for your residents at Harbor Place to have Dr. Watt come in once a week. I think that's phenomenal.
Yep. And we do have nurse practitioners from other areas that come in, but Dr. Watt is the only MD that does physically come into the building. But we do have, like I said, nurse practitioners. So we give that option, so they can see a nurse practitioner, or if they want to see just an MD coming in, they're able to do that as well. And we recently rolled it over to our independent living, and Dr. Watt has been able to kind of publicize in there if they want to have his services as well. So it is a great opportunity. We've had great success with it, and we hope to continue to have success with it.
Yeah, I think that sounds phenomenal. I mean, what you talk about, a lot of the perks of living at Harbor Place. I think this is really important.
I mean, who would not rather just roll out of bed when you don't feel good, put on your robe, and have the doctor knock on your door? I mean, personally, that's when you don't feel great, getting in the shower and driving to the doctor is part of the reason why you don't want to go, because you don't feel good enough to go do it. So this just gives them the opportunity to do it from their home.
Oh, I thought you had a camera or something looking here, me in my robe here. Oh,
No, and I will say, roll tide, Dr. Watt. I'm right there with you. I am an Alabama fan.
oh, come on, guys. Well, at least Dr. Watt has one real good plus, and that's UCLA. Go Bruins.
So, Dr. Watt, tell us kind of what your general, when you come to see someone for the first time in at their home, kind of what is your general rundown that you do with patients?
Typically, whatever. So how it works is the patients have a sheet and they call the number, and if they need, services or I need to see them. If it's non-urgent, then I could see them on the day that I'm there, like every Thursday. And if it is urgent, I can have one of my colleagues or partners try to see them within 24 hours. I'm trying to build a good system to where, whatever their needs are, we can kind of facilitate that rather than going to the ER or something like that. And so what we do is, if they see me on a Thursday, I go there, I show up, and basically just do a complete history and physical. And based on that history and physical, then I would order, whether labs or blood work or give them prescriptions, in that sense. Now we do, which I guess it's something that I have to coordinate with you, Jack, is a nurse to actually come out and draw blood, or somehow get them transportation to the radiology facility so that we can get the x-rays done. But I mean, that's, logistics. I think it can be worked out, in the near future. But yeah, what I'll do is I just do a complete history physical and give them a plan of care, after I see them.
And if someone's currently has a primary and they want to change to, like you, for instance, is that a difficult process to do?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Once I see them, and they choose to have me be their primary, then that's as simple as that. It's always the patient's choice. So if they say, hey, you know what, I loved our interaction, I want to keep you as my primary, that's their choice. They can go ahead and do that, and they can use my name as their primary, if they like, and I'll be happy to accept them that way.
Okay, and you can get pass notes and things like that from their old primary just very easily, correct?
Oh yeah, it's just the release form, which every patient signs before that history of physical. When we verify authorization from insurance companies, things like that, there is a HIPAA compliance form and an authorization release form, so that we, God forbid, if they were in the hospital or another doctor, we can go ahead and fax that over to that facility and get copies of whatever medical record we need to manage their care.
Dr. Watt, getting back to telemedicine a second, how now you have to take blood pressure, I would presume, somehow. How in the world do you do that remotely?
Well, it depends. Now, some clients have what they call, I got to give you the name of the company, but they supply a bunch of equipment that actually connects to the computer. And like literally they wrap it around their wrist and it'll log blood pressure, pulse, all that other stuff. And then they have a little oximeter where it tells you their O2, and then they stick something in their ear and gives you their temperature and whatnot. So they have these little devices that you work with, and it's technology. It's not hard to do, but in general, we don't usually have even that equipment. But if for example we do a Zoom, let's just say that you say, hey doc, I got an issue, and I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you. Like Jack says, I have a sore throat, and I'm listening to him. I'm going through all the history, and if I feel that it's something really minor, and that I can just say, okay, you know what, it may be strep. Let's go ahead and start you on some antibiotics and see how you feel. That in a sense, that's why I was mentioning to Jack before, a lot of times with telemedicine, there is the chance of a misdiagnosis, only because I'm not physically there with the device looking in your throat. And I'm just kind of like, using my best, judgment or guesstimate as to what this may be. Some people are okay with that, but some people aren't, and it all depends on the community, the patients. Are they satisfied with the service that they're getting, or is it something that they don't feel is appropriate? And we'll know that in the near future. And, we either going to drop it or we're going to keep it. The insurance companies love it because it saves them money. They could care less if it's if it's efficient, if it's really that efficient. As long as it keeps people out of the ER, they're fine with it.
Very true. And I know that telemedicine is not a new thing. It was happening before, because we've done it in assisted living for years, but it's now become prominent.
Correct.
Wasn't before.
But again, I don't think it becomes very good if you have a doctor on the other end that doesn't know you.
Yep.
And you're giving me like all these details, and I'm making a guesstimate based on knowing you for the first time, versus a doctor that's known you 15 years and has treated you for several different ailments. And then you're giving me a story, and I'm like, well, this sounds more like, Jack, this sounds more like a viral laryngitis that you had 2 years ago. Based on what you're telling me, this is, so I know you a lot better, and I'm probably going to make a better judgment call than a doctor that doesn't know you anything about you. That's why I say it's very important for that, to make that at least the first couple connections face to face, so that you get to know your patient before you do this virtual thing.
And I like that too, because I can understand doing like first, and then you had a few, but maybe on every third visit you have to be seen in person, or every fourth visit you have to be seen in person.
Correct.
That just like you said, continues to build that bond and that trust. And so if it's something minor, they don't have a problem with doing the telemedicine. But if they're really feeling like it's something that's more in depth, then they have the confidence to call and say, hey, I don't want to do a televisit this time. I'd like to see him in person.
Correct.
All right, doctor, do you feel like taking a phone call?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Jerry, you're on with Dr. Watt and Jack Waldrop.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning, doctors. I was wondering about the CVO, cerebral folk become introduced the role of those or speech impediment. I wondered, in these hospitals, is all help for a patient like that is going through aphasia. I understand they call it aphasia. And I'd like to listen off that. That'd be okay, Greg?
Yeah, go ahead, doctor. Did you hear that?
If you could just give me a brief summary of what he said.
Yeah. Aphasia, I guess it is what he was mentioning, as kind of a speech impediment. I know this poor man has had a stroke. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're asking about a stroke, being admitted to the hospital for a stroke?
No, he has had one, but it's now a lingering speech impediment.
Yeah, he has aphasia from his stroke.
I got you. And he's asking, what was the question?
Okay, Jerry, you still there? Oh, I guess he left us already. Yeah.
And
Okay.
if you're asking if we at Assisted Livings deal with aphasia, we do. That's not a problem. Not something that would be a deterrent from you coming. So if you're interested in that, just give us a call, 772-337-4330. You can ask for Pat. Pat is my sales director, and she'll be able to kind of walk you through that, give you a tour. We can even do an assessment that day to make sure that you are appropriate. Sometimes with aphasia, there are some other underlying issues that we did make sure that we can care for, but you are welcome to come in and do a tour, and we'll be happy to do that.
That sounds great. All right. Good stuff. Doctor, I love the concept of you being able to go into Harbor Place once a week. I think that's an amazing possibility for all the residents there.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
It has definitely come to our advantage in a lot of ways. You know, if we have someone that's trying to move in quickly from their home, they haven't seen their primary care in a very long time. In Florida, we have to have what's called an 1823, which is required to be filled out by a doctor or by a nurse practitioner. And so we are able to call Dr. Watt and say, hey, I have someone that is trying to move in tomorrow, but we need to get an updated 1823. Is there any way you can see this resident or see this person at their home so they can move in? And 9 times out of 10, that person ends up staying with Dr. Watt or one of the nurse practitioners. And so it's a win-win. We're able to get the resident taken care of, and then Dr. Watt is able to get a patient out of it. So it is definitely a win-win situation having someone like Dr. Watt in our pocket. In our pocket, that sounded really bad, but you know what I mean.
It's all right. I'm in your pocket, Jack. I'm in your pocket.
I didn't mean it like that. I just meant that we're able to use him as a resource. That sounded horrible. Woo!
Roll Tide.
And for those that don't know, Dr. Watt actually did a meet and greet with us here a few weeks ago. And it was fantastic. And we were able to introduce him to some people. We love the relationship that we're building with Dr. Watt. We're actually looking at extending that relationship into some other things. Again, we are Harbor Place at Port St. Lucie. We are an assisted living and independent living right here in the heart of Port St. Lucie. We have a continuing care campus. Our sister property for our skilled nursing is Life Care of Port St. Lucie. We're on the same property. The only thing we don't have is a memory care. So if you are looking for independent living with the ability to move to assisted living and then possibly onto skilled nursing all on the same campus, we are your best bet. We're a resort-like community, big columns when you walk in our doors. We have been here for 20 years. We're one of the longest standing assisted livings and independent livings here in Port St. Lucie. So that should tell you something. 20 years worth of relationships with Port St. Lucie makes a difference.
You know, and I think now that FPL has done the hardening, especially with the hospital zone, which you're in, as is our transmitter property on Village Green. So it's like, you know, you're pretty much set for hurricanes, and obviously the building is.
We are, yeah. And like I said, it's been here 20 years. We've never been flooded. We've not had any issues of that nature. If you remember correctly, a few years ago, there were a lot of problems with skilled nursing and the fact that they didn't have what they considered safe rooms or generators that malfunctioned and things of that nature. We did institute those safe rooms. We actually even put one in our independent living, which is non-medical. So if there was a hurricane and we needed to bring people down off the second and third floors, then we do have the ability to still be air conditioned, still have power in those rooms. Our generators specifically run to those rooms to make sure that our residents are safe. We don't typically have to evacuate because we're not in a flood zone. And so we do give families the ability to leave their loved one here during a storm or take them home with them or wherever they choose to go so that they know that their loved one is safe. And then we have those plans in place so that if we do have to evacuate, we go further up north in big old charter buses, and we stay at hotels, and we like to make it fancy around here.
There you go. That's that sounds good to me.
So,
Yep.
so gentlemen, I mean, I guess I could take one more question, but I do have to run. Is there any chance that I can do this again next week, or?
Let me see. I'll get back with you, Dr. Watt. I don't know who's on the schedule for next week, but very possibly. I'll let you know.
All righty. All right, gentlemen. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
All right. Thank you.
Doctor, just a quick thing. You said
Sure.
you said you're with Cleveland Clinic. Which office can folks see you outside of of course, obviously.
Well, my office is right next to the Ale House in the Home Depot Plaza. It's called Access Health Physician Services.
Awesome. And what's your phone number?
772-208-3057.
Come on, we're into cheap promotion at this radio station, Well, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And God bless you guys. Hope to see you soon.
You too, Dr. Watt. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Well, I'll tell you, Jack, you hit a home run there. Speaking of that,
Yeah.
promotion World Series tonight on WPSL.
Go Braves. Go Braves.
There you go. The Bravos, huh?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I love my Braves.
I just want to see the commissioner sitting in Atlanta enjoying the game.
Yeah. But yeah, we've been building lots of great relationships, trying to not necessarily revamp what Harbor Place is, but we've gone through a real long renovation. Our assisted living it's almost completed. We have a little bit left on the first floor, and we'll be completed with a year-long renovation that actually took a little bit longer thanks to COVID.
Trying to get supplies in, I guess.
We had about a 6-month hiatus there on our renovation. But like I said, it is about completed on the assisted living side. It's absolutely beautiful. Our assisted living rooms have tile in them, which it's hard to come by, granite countertops. It is absolutely beautiful. We're still working on the independent living side, but right now our focus is to finish up on that first floor and be done on the assisted living and move on. But like I said, we offer that resort style, and we want you to come in and feel like this is your home away from home. We don't want you to feel like it's just somewhere you've gone to stay. We want it to feel like home.
Well, and especially you are going into that season that, boy, it really feels like home.
Yes. We're actually getting ready. 1st of November, we will start collecting wreaths for our Wreaths of Hope. We did it last year. It was a virtual event due to COVID, but we are going to have a full-fledged event where people are able to come in, look at all of the wreaths, and then we will auction those wreaths off the first week of December, December 2nd, I believe it is. Let me double check. And when we auction them off, then you'll be able to take them home with you that day, and all of the money will go to the Alzheimer's Association. So it's a big event. Last year we raised about $1,400 on it, and the average wreath went for about $100. They're all donated. So if a company wants to donate a wreath, they just come up with a theme of their own, they donate the wreath, and then when we auction it off, we give you credit for donating the wreath, and even have you take pictures with the family or the person that buys the wreath. So it's a great event. Last year, the money went to the fallen heroes. And this year we decided to go to the Alzheimer's Association. It's something we're going to start doing annually, and it will rotate who we give those funds to each year.
So you business owners out there driving around, this is a way you can really help and pick out a wreath and decorate it and take it to Harbor Place. I think that's great.
Yes, it's like I said, it's a fun event. Last year when we were on Facebook Live trying to do it, and everybody was still learning how to do virtual things, it was quite comical. I had an office full of staff trying to keep up with who was making bids and passing to me so I could talk about them on the live. It was a quite comical event.
The one thing I will say that this whole crazy pandemic has done is like with the doctor, with yourself, you can, you don't have to be in this radio studio anymore.
No,
You've done the show from Georgia and all other places.
right?
And yeah, and your guests have come in from all places. And
Yeah.
that's the Zoom technology that really, really improved over this last 2 years.
It has, and we're very lucky about that. And we do tours the same way. If a loved one lives here, family lives far away, but loved one doesn't want to move or doesn't want to move closer to them, then we do virtual tours. And we just kind of pass you along as we go through the building, and you're able to see everything from camera view. And it makes for much easier if someone's bringing a loved one from somewhere to here, we're able to do the same thing with them so they can see. So it has come a long way in what we can do marketing wise, and things that we can set up for loved ones. I mean, we had a resident that turned 104. And we did a whole virtual party so that her family that couldn't come from overseas was able to see her and interact with her. And so having Zoom has been fantastic through the pandemic and being able to keep people in touch with their loved ones as much as possible.
Sure. Oh, yeah. But now let's see, your hairstylists, are they back at work now?
They are back at work. We have two brand new renovated salons, and they are here cutting hair, rolling hair, and dyeing hair like left and right.
Cool. All right. Good stuff. Yeah. Well, you look around the Harbor Place, and the one thing that comes to mind is, it's so warm. You get that real warm, homey feel the moment you step in there.
Yes. And that's one thing about our design team that is fantastic is, there's a lot of places that have gone to this more hotel-like feeling when you walk in the doors, and that is great. And some people want that. That's what they want. They want to live in for the rest of their lives. We have gone with kind of a mixture of that. We still have the granite countertop or the granite countertops and the big marble columns, but it still feels like home, more of a homey, I don't even know how to call it, to be honest with you, because it's not dated. It doesn't look old. It just looks like somewhere you would want to live and not somewhere you would just want to visit for a short time period.
Well, Jack, do you see any changes as far as if it's like a real tough winter or something up north, a lot of applications at that point in time?
So we actually have several snowbirds that come during the winter for
Okay.
independent living. We do what it's called a respite stay. And it typically is 30 days or more. Pre-COVID, we would do 2-week stays. Post-COVID, now we're doing at least 30 days because if you're not vaccinated, then you have to be quarantined for a certain amount of time period. But really and truly, everybody that's coming in is vaccinated, and we require a 30-day stay. But most snowbirds are here for 3 months, so they don't have a problem with that. But it is a fun time when they're coming in, not so fun when they're leaving. But we have had some that were snowbirds that eventually moved in full time, which is fantastic.
Yeah. I think I remember talking to a few of them when we were down with the Christmas kids. So yeah, that's so true. So true. Well, now you had talked about a few weeks back about a lot of the veterans benefits that a lot of veterans, unfortunately, don't even know about.
Yeah, so there are VA benefits. If you served during wartime, is a big part of it. You had to serve. You didn't have to serve overseas during the war. You just had to serve during wartime. We do have a gentleman that we team up with, Dwayne, that will help you get those benefits. They help pay for assisted livings and independent livings so that you can get the help that you need and not have to be at home struggling. And then we also offer a veterans discount. And so if you move in with us, you get a percentage off of your rent each month because you are a veteran or you are a surviving veteran spouse. So we do a lot for our benefits for our veterans here. We want to be your premier veteran location. we do everything that we can to make sure that you're taken care of very quickly.
And I would presume long-term care insurance would be just a wonderful addition for your residents.
It is. I will say though, with long-term care insurance, most of the time your VA benefits will not kick in because they pay a certain portion, and your VA benefits are based upon how many assets and things of that nature. But if you have long-term care insurance, then most of the time you're great. I've seen anything from them paying out $50 a day to $140 a day. It just depends on what the program is that you purchased under. And if you were smart enough to purchase it when they did offer it, which is fantastic, and you can be in an independent living and still work a job. Nothing's to say that you can't have a job and live in independent living. It's for 55 and older, so you can still be working. We have a lot of 60-year-olds that still work that are here, or 65-year-olds for that matter, that still work but don't want to worry about cleaning their house each week, or don't want to worry about coming home to cook dinner at night. Those are all things that we offer.
Wow, that's sounding great. I'm ready to move in.
Right? I know. My parents would move in tomorrow if I would let them.
Oh my.
They're in Mobile, Alabama, and I'm like, that's close enough, guys. No, I love my mom and dad, but my brother is there with them, and if they could at this point in their life, or if they're full-time RVers, they travel full-time and they love it. So, you know, that's says a lot. That I would be willing to move my parents in somewhere, and I haven't been able to say that at every building or company that I've worked for, but with this one, I would be 100% confident moving a family or friend in any of our communities. We do have them in 19 states. We have 43 buildings, 42 buildings. Covered over 19 states. So if you have family and friends in other states and you want to know more information about what Century Park has in those areas, I'll be glad to give you that information. Just give me a call again, phone number 772-337-4330. We can definitely point you in the right direction. We go anywhere from Washington to Rhode Island to Philadelphia, and then down to Fort Lauderdale. So wherever you think your family is, that's where we can offer it.
Wow, that sounds great. That's amazing. But you know, for Harbor Place, though, if you're out there and you're looking, you've got to stop by. And Pat is a person to talk to there.
Miss Pat, yes, Miss Pat is my right arm when it comes to sales and marketing. She's fantastic. She will dig in there and get all the questions answered that you have. And she will point you in the right direction. If it's not with us, if it's somewhere else because of financing, we will definitely work with you and see what we can do.
That's great. And again, as you stress, you're as mobile as you want to be on the independent side, and take advantage of all the golf courses, hiking, you name it here.
All of that's around us. Yeah, we're not far from Savannah, and you're able to go over there and do some hiking. We're not far from Jensen Beach. We're right off US 1. We have a Walmart, a Bell's, Denny's. If you like Denny's, it's right across the street. All kinds of stuff going on right here. And we want you to be independent, no matter if you're in independent living or assisted living. Keep in mind that assisted living is exactly what the title says. We're there to assist you with your daily living. We're not skilled nursing. It's not a nursing home. We leave that to our sister right here across the campus at Life Care Centers of Port St. Lucie, but we work well with them as well. So if you have a loved one that is in a nursing home and you want to be on the same campus with them, you can get them transferred to Life Care Center of Port St. Lucie, and then have our assisted living or independent living for yourself. We do have several of those options as well. So we have a lot going on here at Harbor Place. We would love to see you. We'd love for you to come by and take a tour, and go from there. We have a tour coming up, a big tour coming up for professionals in November. It's going to be a tasting tour. And then we're gonna have some events coming up that we'll get ready to start announcing the 1st of November. So we're excited to see those things coming on. We're excited to see new people in the building. We are constantly having people move in, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Well, and just having people in the building, that's
That's a step in the right direction.
Yes, it is. There's no doubt about it.
Yep. No, I'm right there with you. But again, I'm Jack Waldrop. I'm the executive director at Harbor Place at Port St. Lucie. We're at 3700 Southeast Jennings Road, right behind the Holiday Inn and the Old Sonny's Barbecue. Our phone number is 772-337-4330. Again, 772-337-4330. You can always take a look at us online as well. And I'll spell this out for you. PTST LucieHarborPlace.com. So that's P for port, PT for port, sorry, ST for Saint, and then LucieHarborPlace.com. If you can't find that easier way to do it, CenturyPA.com. That'll give you where we're at in all 19 states. And then you just look up Florida and click on Harbor Place. And it'll come up and it'll ask you if you want to take a tour. You can click on that. It'll schedule a time for you to come in as well. So you can always call myself, call Pat, or go online, and we will be happy to bring you in and give you a tour and even offer you some food if you'd like to stay for lunch.
Oh, and you would say that as we're heading into the lunch hour. Oh man, and I'm starving too. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Jack. But, again, we only have about a minute or so, but the big plus, I think, is Dr. Watt coming in there once a week. I think that's phenomenal.
Yes, having doctors come in. Like I said, he's our only actual MD that comes in, but we do have nurse practitioners. So it depends on what insurance that you have as to which one you can go to or which one's accepting patients at the time. But we do have that ability for you to see an MD or a nurse practitioner while in home without having to go out.
Well, thank you very much. And again, as always, a very, very informative show. And well, let's keep her going at Harbor Place.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you soon.
All right, Jack Waldrop, Harbor Place, where you're never alone. You've been listening to Never Alone from Harbor Place with Jack Waldrop, and today with Dr. Watt as well. Wow, wonderful edition. That's absolutely amazing. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie and WPSL.com worldwide on Alexa, Google Home, and tune in. And welcome to our new listeners up in Finland. Good grief. They're listening from the top of the world. Welcome aboard to Florida's WPSL Port St. Lucie.